Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. I'm Preacher Moss, host of the SOS, the Shout Out Show with Preacher Moss. Listen, I hope that you're having a wonderful week. For those that are fasting, Ramadan Mubarak, we are in the home stretch. I want to give a shout out to everybody who has donated and made concessions on their own budgets, their own schedules for time, resources to give to those who have less so that they can have more. Shout out to those who give to Gaza. We also want to have definitely want to acknowledge the workers, the workers who were killed in Gaza, doing nothing more than charity work, doing work that makes Allah happy, doing work that makes God happy, serving the community, and they've killed. So I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. I also want to make sure I give a shout out to a very good friend of mine who is recovering from an accident. Man, we love you. Keep listening to the rehab. Keep listening to good health tips and things like that. Also want to give a shout out to my mom. She was really under the weather. I don't know what we ate or whatever, but her stomach was not right, and now she's feeling better. All praises due to Allah. Today's title is The Trump Bible and No Iftar for Joe. The Trump Bible is, of course, referring to Donald Trump is now hawking Bibles, his version of the Bible, $59.99. You can get a Bible. It is the MAGA, if you will, the Make America Great Again. Now it's Make America Pray Again Bible, which has not just the Bible, according to them, but also a copy of the Declaration of Independence and also a declaration of the Constitution, of which he does not respect, it does not follow. That's beyond the point. But I also think that it's important that we look at this because this is the deep dive. We've talked about this time and time on the show that now you have a situation where Donald Trump is literally equating himself to Jesus. He's put himself on the level of Prophet Isa and saying, look at me in an election year, knowing that there are people who are gullible, who are traumatized, who are in pain, who are angry, who will look at him in that space and look at him. You know, I remember saying something about Trump. I said, Trump thinks he's God. I said, and the reason I said that, brothers and sisters, I said, because this is a guy, if you listen to him, he believes that he is the administrator and the creator and the distributor of mercy, if you will. You know, it's interesting to watch on TV and listen to this man talk about what he's going to do in the White House. You know, out of the top 10 things, 5 of them have to do with vengeance, getting back at people who he thought wronged him or getting back at people who called him on the carpet. You know, the exact investigations that we're talking about, if he becomes president, he can get in and he can tell the DOJ to say, you know, forget all of those things as a means to make sure that he won't be convicted on these charges. And you begin to see the play now. That this thing is very much surreal. And it's not an election anymore. It's a mandate. You know, you have elections that are mandates on things, but this is clearly a mandate about what America stands for. You know, the idea that Christianity can be co-opted, that Christianity now means that it's irregardless. It does not require forgiveness. You know, in the I guess in the branding of Christianity. And I was a Christian, that Jesus died for our sins. And the way we can give back is that, you know, we love one another and we have forgiveness. But this is not a Christianity that loves one another. This is not a Christianity that has forgiveness. This is the Christianity that's white evangelicalism that we're not talking about. That the white nationalist Christianity movement as well. And if we don't do anything, you don't say anything about it, you have a chance of that being in your White House. Even worse, it being in your White House and this person leading it, who is not, in my opinion, a religious man, a God-fearing man, somebody who has some modicum of piety. We don't have that. Now, on the other side, this year at the White House, there will be no Iftar. There'll be no White House Iftar. Last year, I went to the White House Iftar, and of course, many of you know my view on Joe Biden. I went. I was like, don't be hard. Go see. It was a great event. We got to go. This year, there's no Iftar because Muslims refused to come. People were not taking the invitations. I said this in February when I got invited to the Black History Month Iftar, and I turned it down. And the reason I turned it down was I feel like I could be co-opted if I'm seen at this Black Iftar or Black History Month gala, if you will, that knowing I wouldn't go to the one that they were planning essentially in Washington D.C. for Eid, that nobody was going to go, and I don't want to be co-opted like that. So I kindly said I'm not going to go. But I want to look at the process that a group of Black Muslims did go and have had a committee meeting with Joe Biden and the people who are involved. Many of them are friends and well known. But I really want to talk about understanding tactics, clearly understanding tactics. Why is it important for us to not go to these iftars? Why is it important for us to not go to Master's house? Master needs to come to our house. Master needs to come where we are living and understand how we're surviving. Master needs to go to Gaza. Biden and Netanyahu and all these players who have their blinders on, these myopic leaders, need to go and see what their policies are producing. So I don't want another press release, a press conference. I don't want another walkthrough. You need to go and stand there in Gaza and deliver food, and I want you to be scared to death that somebody may drop a bomb on you. Netanyahu, I want you to do the same thing because Israeli troops kill other Israelis. It's a bona fide fact. But the larger part of this, and let me not be rambling, but the larger part of it is we're silent. We're silent. See, when you shout, you can only shout for so long, then your voice is either going to go down or you're going to get hoarse, and then you just can't talk for a while. We're not strategic. We're not tactic. The Trump Bible is a tactic. We have no other response to the Trump Bible other than outrage. I am offended. I am deeply offended. But people don't care about you being deeply offended. People don't care that you're outraged. Those are things that they anticipate. What are you going to do now? What are we going to do as people of faith or people of lesser faith, people who have lost faith, to address this conundrum, not just with Trump, not just with Biden, but the overall society that has lost the ability and the art to have faith, maintain faith, and share faith. We'll be right back here on the Shout Out Show. Don't you move. We're talking about the Trump Bible and no iftar for Joe. All right, we're back. Listen, let me give a shout out to my shout out soldiers. And I want to get to the people who are out on Instagram. Thank you so much for tuning in. I just want you to be patient with me because I don't have my EP with me today. Shout out to Sister Sultana Whitfield. She's getting ready for Eid and Iftar. God bless her, as many of you are. So I won't be rambling over today. I know we run into Iftar time from time to time. So I want to give a shout out to Sister Sultana Whitfield and her family. Without her, we don't even have a shout out show, even though she's not here today. That's how important she is to the show. I want to give a shout out to my sister Ree. What's going on, Sister Ree? Wa alaikum assalam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. She says, hello, family. Of course, Ree is one of our shout out soldiers from way back from the jump. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Shout out to you, Derek, and of course, brother, my nephew Juwan. Give him my love, please. I want to give a shout out also to Altaf Rashid. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear brother, thank you so much for tuning in. Altaf is a Canadian envoy to the show. He checks. He's in Toronto. He makes sure that Everything is good on this side of the board. On the other side, we call him Mr. 6 o'clock, Mr. Straight Up, Straight Down, always here. Good to see you, brother. And in the house, big brother Bilal Salahuddin, and by default, his queen sister Sonia Dalton Salahuddin. What's going on, Doc? Thank you so much. I got your information. I'm going to do that probably tonight if it's just been kind of crazy. Like I told you guys earlier, my mom was ill, so things are running behind just a little bit. Please keep her in your dua. Also, I want to give a shout out, if I didn't, to Howard University MSA. They hosted me to do to give a khutbah for Juma khutbah on the 22nd of March, and they were just so nice. If you get a chance to go to Howard and hang out with the Muslims there, it is spiritually uplifting, man. I mean, that's spiritually uplifting. So, and I want to shout out, I see my man Samir. We have people, my brother George Green from Melbourne, Australia. How you doing, beloved? Good brother, man. Samir, what's going on? There should be no Iftar. That's right, they don't care about Muslims. And I'm going to say something. Maybe we generalize it that they don't care about Muslims. They don't respect Muslims. They don't respect Muslims. It's something that we have to be talking about. I want to give a shout out to my brother Johnny Thomas, better known as my brother JT. He's on Instagram. What's going on? Much love, man. JT has done pretty much. He's hung with me for Ramadan. He's not Muslim, but he might as well be. This brother does iftar with me it's got to be the last 15 years, hanging in there. Want to give a shout out to my main man Marlon Hill, one of the funniest guys in the game in Milwaukee. Shout out Marlon. We got Zaid, photography. We got Professor at UT, Marlon Hill, Chaplain Ranks. We got a lot of folks here. Alhamdulillah. Worthy Herbs. I don't know what that means, but okay. Chicago Kid, my main man from Chicago. Shout out Iman. How you doing, man? I shouted out Howard. I want to know what you're doing with that law degree, brother. I know you're good now. And Ali Saeed, man, thank you so much. So when I talk about the Trump Bible, what I want you guys to understand is this is not a man that's disrespecting the Bible. Of course he's doing that. This is a man that's desperate. When you run to God and you really don't want anything from God, you don't believe in God, it's a recipe for disaster. So if you watch the commercial of Donald Trump, and he actually held the Bible on the right way this time. The last time he held up a Bible, basically it was a photo op, and it was a photo op on the Fire Plaza, basically condoning the brutalization of peaceful protesters. Them being roughed up, aggressively moved out of the square so he could do this perp walk. And I also pointed out at that point in time, something that was really, really interesting was somehow, some way, they got helicopters to come into that point and kind of blow the people out. But you really can't get a helicopter unless you really have clearance, military clearance. So I'm like, how deep is this guy going with the military? I guess we're going to find out if he doesn't win. That's one thing. Here's the other thing I want everybody to think about. That there are people who don't care at all whether he believes in God or not. The words coming out of his mouth from Make America Great Again to Make America Pray Again. A friend of mine, he's a rapper named Tone Trump. He had a hat. Yeah, he had a hat made up. It was a red hat. It's of course it said "Make America Pray Again" because he's a Muslim brother. But now that Trump has adopted that moniker, it's for the fact that he understands that he's dealing with people who are spiritless, and the idea that he can reintroduce any kind of religiosity to these lost souls will make him even more solidified in what he's trying to do. Whether it's become president, whether it's become a demagogue, whatever, that he's now put himself in a place. And you have to understand, when you deal with people who don't have faith, right? When you don't have faith, you have an absence of a tool that also underlies that you really are not pursuing success. One thing I look at when I look at the whole thing of the Trump and all of that is there's a divide. They're the people who support Trump, but they're not looking for success. They're only invested in his success. Their faith is broached in a way where it's just success for them. They don't see them as a part of really the American pie that, for lack of a better word, makes everything work. And because of that space, they can't see anyone else in it. They can't see other people being successful without this person anointing them. The Jews will be successful. The Native Americans will be successful. And this is what happens when faith is gone. For a lot of us, we're holding on to faith because you have situations, scenarios, people trying to take it. This culture not only will test your faith, but if you allow it to, this culture will take your faith, twist it up, and give it back to you. I talk about Hollywood all the time. And you're beginning to see some of these things, okay? I'm not going to get into the P. Diddy stuff or blah, 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 or Epstein stuff. But I told people years ago, I knew I was going to leave Hollywood, and this is how I knew. A guy loved everything I did, but he asked a question. He said, what are your core values? And he really leaned in, like, what are your core values? And I realized he was leaning in to find out my core values, because if by chance we got into a working relationship, if by chance I was successful through his modality, then the first thing he's going to do is attack my core values, because that gives him more control. And that's what's happening in America today. Constantly being assaulted on your core values. Every time you turn on television, look at the representation of the black family. There's no representation of the black family. You know what you have? You have mixed families, right? Mixed families, interracial families, but it's never a black man and a black woman anymore. It's never two Latinos anymore. It's never, if it's a white woman, it might be a white guy, but a lot of times it's a black guy, because they're trying to soften you up. Therefore, the argument about blackness in America, the argument about black power, the argument about reparations in America, sadly, brothers and sisters, is a watered down argument. And as generations go forth and we continue to produce young black billionaires who have no concept of community service, are not revolutionaries, they're just rich, more and more and more and more, we don't have a platform. I think that the proliferation of all these platforms, I got a million likes, and it means nothing. It's this false created currency that because I have more likes, I'm smarter than you. Because I have more likes, that I'm more talented than you. Because I have more likes, wait for it, I'm more trustworthy than you. And we go through this process now. And over and over and over, we find ourselves, for lack of a better word, fighting to stay out of these traps. We fight to stay out of these traps. My man Dawood Yassin, what's up, brother? Love you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Carl Muslimi, Stevio. Listen, a bunch of the people in the Instagram, these are some of the smartest people in the game right now. Dawood Yassin and Austin, he's a gangster. And, I'm going to try and get him on the show because we're talking about it. We're going to talk about, you don't need to talk about Islam in America if leadership is not attached to it. Can I say that? I'm going to say it again. You don't need to talk about Islam in America if leadership is not attached to it. The disconnect with African Americans and Islam in America now is that when we talk about Islam, we're not talking about how it leads, how it confronts things in America. When I took my Shahada, I'm a child of Malcolm. I'm a child of Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I'm a child of Imam Wahid Muhammad. I'm a child of Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Because there was no need for me to take my Shahada if I didn't think I could go out and change the things that I was saying about me. Go out and affect this community. If I didn't think I could do that, then what in the hell am I trying to be a Muslim for? When you look at the Trump Bible situation, he knows that he's talking to a dead community, a dead constituency. The only thing that they're going to get out of this Bible is that they spent $60. If I stood up here trying to hawk Qurans with the Declaration of Independence in the Constitution of the United States, stapled by Surah Al-Fatiha, I wouldn't get out of my house. I get stomped inside my house, rightfully so. Because we don't go for that. Because this is not the way Allah planned it. This is not the reason, and this is not part and parcel of our leadership. I said this before last week. I said it at a khutbah at Howard University, and I said, understand this very clearly. That becoming a Muslim was an incredible leap of faith for me. And I say an incredible leap of faith because Malcolm was gone. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was gone. All the DNA that I had goes back to Prophet Muhammad, a man I never saw, a man I never heard from. We don't have pictures of him, but his leadership is the thing that pulls us to him. It draws us to him. People are coming to Islam because they see a strain of leadership. Every time you turn on Instagram, every time I turn on WhatsApp, that's what happens. People taking shahada. Little John taking shahada. You know, broadcasters, professors taking shahada. And here's the thing. They're not in crisis. They're not in crisis. They recognize that there's a deficit of leadership. And when you have a spiritual deficit of leadership, you're going to look hard at what your options are. Now, this is no disrespect to Christianity or Judaism. I'm talking about my faith and how people are coming to my faith. Now, here's the thing I want you to really grab a hold of. What is faith worth in America today? We talk about faith works. How does faith work? Beyond charity, how does faith work? Every Ramadan, we do the same thing. We fundraise for those who don't have, and that's fine. But when Ramadan is over, and that's, of course, that's a heavy giving period. But when Ramadan is over, zakat is paid, okay? Sadaqah is paid. When Ramadan is over, how does faith work in terms of correcting what we're seeing? I just sat here and told you there's no way I would hold up a Quran with copies of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution stapled in it, even if it was in Arabic. Because I'm talking about the purity, not only of the book, the Holy Quran, I'm talking about the purity of the intention, the purity of the leadership that stems from that. See, people don't understand. People don't understand. You know, people talk about the NOI. I'm gonna digress a minute. People talk about the NOI, but don't be fooled into thinking that these brothers did not know about Sunni. They didn't know about Sunni Islam. Don't think that. Don't think that they didn't know that, you know, Islam came from the Middle East. Don't think they didn't know that. That these are, you know, that the whole space of Black Orientalism is a real thing. That you're talking about intellectual capacity that the white man couldn't see. And even if he saw it, people couldn't fathom it. This history. There's carvings and federal buildings, and pillars of federal buildings that people thought were cute designs. It's slaves putting in Arabic. Okay. Let me move on from Trump. No Iftar for Joe. Honestly, we should have had an Iftar last year. You know why? Because it set us up for the sucker punch. It made people believe that we had a president who was going to listen to us. And this comes on the heels of the president before Trump. We had a president who was going to listen to us. Obama. I like Obama, but I'm going to give you the facts. A lot of legislation didn't move with Obama. It was a good field movement, but when you start looking at what happened, it was devastating. Because when you look at somebody that looks like you tend to be lax. You tend to give them more than the benefit of the doubt. So legislation is being signed, bonds being dropped. We tend to overlook that because we want to be close. We want to believe that person is giving us some aspect of effective leadership. He did good things, don't get me wrong. But did he do dirt like the other presidents? Absolutely. Because you're a president. You don't work solo. You don't work in isolation. You work with other politicians. So if you got to drop a bomb over here, you drop a bomb over here. If this is what's needed to make the economy move, doggone it, that's what you do. And while there was a quote unquote no iftar because people were not going to go, I guarantee you, if there was a slight chance that we'd have gotten any little concession, the White House would be filled with Muslims on Eid. We'd be falling out, and we couldn't wait to get there. Now, here's the thing about Joe, and I want you to listen really, really clearly. Joe Biden is probably, no, I don't want to say that. I'm going to say it. Joe Biden is more dangerous than Donald Trump. Joe Biden is more dangerous than Donald Trump. Let me tell you what. See, Trump is an idiot. Trump is selfish. Trump is the epitome of the emperor that has no clothes. He needs people to tell him, hey, Donald, you look good in that suit, boy, but Donald butt naked, right? Swinging in the wind. Joe Biden is a professional politician. And what happens when you're a professional politician and you have longevity, you let things ride because, at a crucial point, you could pull them back. So Biden not having an iftar, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that Muslims don't want to talk to them. It doesn't mean that Muslims don't want to talk to Joe. They are teaming to talk to Joe. Let me give you the game, people. It's a pimp game. P-I-M-P, pimp game. It's like a bad relationship. Like you in a relationship that's really bad. Oh, he didn't bring me flowers. He doesn't listen to me. Oh, she spends my money. Oh, she doesn't respect me. You have all these negative things from that relationship. And then when you get in a new relationship, the first thing that we do is we take all that baggage and throw it on that poor, unsuspecting individual who's just getting ready to meet you. I'm the one she better have it do. She better look like this dude. Look at you. I heard sisters say, I get a man, he better be able to make this amount of money. You don't make that amount of money. It's the same thing with the Muslim community. We go after Biden because we think Biden is weak. We think that we can get something out of somebody who is weak. Fundamentally, that is wrong. You go and see if you can get somebody or get a compromise from somebody who's strong. Because that's more enduring. That's more valuable than getting a promise from someone who's weak. Muslims will go after Joe Biden, but where's that same energy going after Donald Trump? Where's that same energy going, hey, Joe, hey, Donald, put that Bible down. I'm a Muslim. Put the Bible down. That's a holy book. Put the Bible down. But we ain't doing that. See, when we had the Muslim ban, there's still the guy just said, hey, he gonna do the Muslim ban as soon as he get in office. All these these councils and all of these civic action groups. The reason you go after Biden because he's easy. At least he'll listen. You want to impress me? Go to people who don't listen. Go to people who won't listen. Go to people who don't like you. Go to people who say, you know what? I don't care what you say. I'm not rocking with you. Go to those people. Can you change their hearts? And one thing that I will say, it's funny, and anybody can bark on it if they want to, but real talk, I've seen Islam do that. I've seen Islam take people who were 100% aversely disgusted with this religion, take shahada. People who participated in some of the most perverse acts, sexual, criminal, find this religion and say, wait a minute, this thing turned me around. I think the real push of the Muslim community is that we're not putting this religion out here as a mandate for the upcoming elections. Can you satisfy the requirements in this book? Can you meet up to some of the basic requirements of humanity and decency in this book called Al-Quran? Can you do that? And that becomes the mandate. And people go, wait a minute, what's in that book? Wait a minute, what kind of fairness are you talking about? Wait a minute, what kind of equality are you talking about for women? Wait a minute, what are you talking about in terms of welfare of children? Wait a minute, what are you talking about business? You got to think. I don't sit down with people who can't do nothing for me. In business, if you want $1 million, you don't take lunches with a person, God bless their soul, they give you what they can, but they only come up to $100. You don't do that. You don't. Joe Biden and the Democrats, you need to listen to Malcolm X again. The Ballad of the Bullet. You need to listen to that three or four times, because I'm echoing some of that sentiment like I talked last week. But I think the thing that we really need to understand is it's still valid today that your votes are being played with on one level, but your faith is being played with on a much deeper level. People can't take 4 more years of Trump because they remember how they felt during the Trump years. And that's what will happen during the election. There'll be a callback to that feeling of desperation, that feeling that when you woke up in the morning, you were sanctioned, you had a target on your back, and the president of the United States says, shoot them Muslims. It's okay. Mistreat the Muslims, it's okay. Disrespect the Muslims, it's okay. I mean, how the hell are you going to really celebrate not having an iftar with Joe Biden when you had 4 years when the president didn't have any iftar? He didn't invite none of you to the White House. Except those Uncle Tom marshmallow head Muslims, he ain't invite nobody to the White House. There was no iftar for 4 years. And the reason why everybody rejoiced was because happy days are here again. No, they ain't never gone nowhere. It's a pimp game, P-I-M-P, instead of being a faith game. So listen, let's realign some of these things. For this election, it should not be that we are trying to be successful in this religion. Don't come out successful. Come out more faithful. That means that you're going to have to look to your community partners and say, wait a minute, these options are not good options. What are our good options? If you build community, if you build schools, if you build businesses that are based on faith, I'm talking about faith, equality, things are in the Quran, I believe you will win, because those things are long-standing. See, a president can only be a president 4 years. I know Master Muhammad in Washington, D.C., formerly Muhammad's mosque number 4, has been there since the 50s. Faith endures. So look, got to rock out here. Next week, I made pre-tape. I don't want people to worry about next week because, you're going to be getting into, of course, Eid and all of that. So I'll probably put a show out. But much love to all of you guys. I really appreciate you joining the show. We got some more folks here. Shirt off shorty, that's funny. R. Sidat, Hassan J, Dinjaz, Falu, thank you so much for coming. Samir Ahmed. Samir said any president since Reagan has been a liar and deceiver. An entertainer, bro. Zaki, how you doing, brother? Muslimami, okay. Shout out Dasu, Carl Dusenart, CRD. Shout out to all you guys. Listen, I gotta go. You guys have been amazing. Take care of yourselves, and remember, let's think. Okay, let's think. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Preacher Moss. This is the Shadow Show. See you next week, inshallah.